Hi, how are you?
Good.
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 Looking forward to this.
I thank you so much for meeting with me. This is really great. I love a good film festival. I live in Park City, so this is the home of Sundance.
Yes.
So, have you ever been to Sundance?
My son had a film at Sundance, so I got to sit next to him watching his film for the first time. It was very exciting.
What? Wow. What year was that?
2004, it was Napoleon Dynamite.
What?
Yeah. He was the first assistant director on that.
Oh
So,
my gosh. I was there. I attended that at the X
well, look at
Center.
that. We've been to a movie together.
That is so funny. Wow. Okay. We were just saying, we really need to watch that again. So,
It's one of those films. The more you see it, the more you just laugh and have fun with it. So it's amazing how 20 years later, well, it's not been quite 20 years, but a lot of years later, it's still making good memes. So
yeah, I would still buy a Vote for Pedro t-shirt.
that's right.
So,
I still have mine. I should have worn it today, right? And then he had a movie at Slam Dance a couple of years later, the Sasquatch Gang. So got to go to that one too. It was really
All
fun.
right. Well, I'll look that one up. Wow. Got my pen here. I'm gonna write that down.
I actually like it better. I think the Sasquatch Gang has a more complex storyline, which isn't saying a lot with Napoleon Dynamite, but he's just a boy that's looking forward to going to prom, but very character driven. But I think Sasquatch has a really fun, multi-layered script, so I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, great, great. I've been to some Slam Dance films. They're great. I mean, they're a lot cheaper to get into, easier, to be able to get into because Sundance can be a little rough. But wow. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for hosting the Anthem Film Festival. That is so great. How did you get started?
Well, it was one of these things where it's part of Freedom Fest. Freedom Fest we've been doing for almost 20 years. And we had kind of a five-pronged theme where we talk about finance and economics, politics, history, science and technology, health and wellness. And one of our prongs was arts and entertainment. And I didn't feel like we had enough arts and entertainment going on. Every year I would give a talk about a different writer, author, novelist, poet. But I wanted to do more. And I felt like film was, especially libertarian film, there wasn't enough of it, and partly was because there wasn't a venue for it. And so I wanted to provide that venue. And with Freedom Fest having over 2,000 attendees, I had an audience. So it's been a really nice pairing where I don't have to worry about attracting an audience. Slam Dance did something interesting that was similar to that, where they had this huge Sundance audience and they just started tacking up signs, rented a space and said, come to Slam Dance. And they kind of stole some of the audience from Sundance to go to Slam Dance. And I sort of have done that with Anthem, where I have Freedom Fest and all these attendees and also all the speakers that I can bring over to my panels, and I provide the content and they provide the audience.
Oh, wow. How great. That is great. And so this year it's going to be at the Elks Theater?
Yes, the Elks Theater is one of the oldest theaters in the country. It was built by the Elks Club as a performance entertainment venue, stage and screen. 100 years ago, they had their 100th anniversary last year. It's been perfectly, beautifully restored and renovated. One of these great big theaters with the plush red seats and the balcony and an apron on the stage and the gigantic screen. So it's going to be really fun for our anniversary.
Oh, that's wonderful for you guys and for the filmmakers and the audience. That is just, wow. That is really, really cool. I was looking exactly where that was. I guess it's 33 minutes to Mount Rushmore from the Elks Theater.
It is just half an hour. In fact, this is our first year in South Dakota. We've been in Las Vegas all along. And then last year they closed us down because of mask and distancing requirements. 10 days to showtime. We had complied with everything they asked us to do and getting ready and being, distancing. We were staggering our start times so that everybody wouldn't be going into the hallways at the same time. agreed to do the masks and all of that. And then 10 days before showtime, they said, no, can't have more than 49 people at an event. And that was the end of that. So that was pretty frustrating.
I am sorry. That's a bummer, especially if you already had the rules in place and 10 days. I mean, that's
And meanwhile, they had hundreds of people in the casinos right outside the conference center. So explain to me how that even makes sense, right?
okay.
But
Yeah.
meanwhile, and the worst was for the filmmakers, because you know, you're a filmmaker yourself. You work really hard to get a finished project, and then you work really hard to get into a festival, and then to have all the festivals closed that year. I feel so bad for the filmmakers whose films were ready, you know, and they
Yeah.
had those acknowledgements and those acceptances, and
Yeah.
that was that. Now, we did go ahead and do a virtual festival, but it's not the same thing. You know, it's
Okay. Yeah.
you don't get to meet the speakers, the directors, you don't get to talk to the audience. It's just not the same thing. I'm glad we did it that way, but I'm so happy to be back in a theater this year.
Well, that's kind of, you know, it's kind of then extra special that it's going to be such an amazing theater, so unique.
And we
That's
have more
such a
films than
great-
we've ever had before. I have 40 films this year.
Wow.
It boggles my mind, and I wake up at night thinking, what if we have even one technical glitch? What if we get behind by 5 minutes, 10 minutes? It's going to throw everything off. So that's my biggest concern, is just wanting to make sure that my filmmakers have a great experience, that they get to have their Q&A. I've put all the filmmakers onto panels, so they get their Q&A, plus they get to be part of a post-screening panel. So that's going to be really nice. I've curated it with 12 different sessions, 2-hour sessions, and with panels at the end of each session. So I think that'll make it more interesting to the attendee, and more rewarding for the filmmaker as well.
Oh, good. I did see one panel that I would like to go to, and it was called Timely and Timeless, something to that
Yes,
effect.
yes, how to make a film that's timely and timeless. And that came from the fact that, because it's our 10th anniversary, I thought it would be kind of fun to bring back our very first grand prize winner, which was The Cartel by Bob Bowden, a documentary about school choice and options for parents who would like to get out of the public school system or the government school system. And so I asked him if he'd bring it back, come back to the festival, bring back the film, and we'd talk about it. And as we were talking, I said, you know, that film has really held up. It's 10 years later, and it's still timely, and it still holds up. And he kind of said, yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? And then I thought, there are other films that I've had at the festival that have really held up as well. They're timely, but in a way they're timeless. So we're going to have a fun panel with that, to talk about what are the characteristics of a timeless film. The fact that it's the characters themselves need to have a humanity about them. The way Shakespeare's, Shakespeare's timeless because it's not about the script, and it's not about the storyline, and it's not about the setting. It's about human nature. And he had such a great finger on the pulse of human nature. So it lasts 400 years. And I think that's kind of that's what makes it timeless. And then of course the timeliness is the conflicts that come back again and again that we just never quite get right. So I think it'll be a good panel. I hope you'll be able to attend that one.
Yes, I will be there. And I think that's just very cool, especially because a filmmaker can create a masterpiece. It gets into a film festival, and then that could be the end,
What was kind of the kiss of death was back in the 90s, when computer graphics really started to take hold, and everybody was using them, and it was so cool and dynamic and it's so exciting. And then within 5 years, they were so out of date. You can tell a 90s movie just by the graphics. And now, instead of being timely, it has really aged. You just don't want to see those movies anymore, or you laugh at them.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, is how to be timely, how to be on top of things, and yet not be pigeonholed into a particular time period.
Yes. I did see an interesting movie. I wanted to get your take on it. The movie Cough.
Oh, yes, that's one that I'm bringing back. That was a 2013 film. And at the time, I just thought, this is a dystopian future, far, far in the future, where there's been a pandemic and everybody's wearing masks, and people who get it are so contagious that they're killed. And here's this man who's trying to get through a checkpoint so he can get some food, and his wife has the virus, and he's trying to hide her and protect her, because if the police see her, they're going to kill her, they're going to shoot her. And it was actually one of my reviewers, Leo Sopicki, comes to Anthem every year, and he sits in the front row and he writes copious notes, and he posts probably a dozen movie reviews over the course of 4 days. And he was the one who mentioned to me, boy, do you remember that movie Cough? It was so prescient, it fits for today. And I said, yeah, let's bring it back. So it's coming back as one of our best of the fest. And then there was a movie that we had last year that unintentionally was set in an environment like what we experienced last year during COVID, where everybody's in their houses, everybody's ordering products online, everyone's talking to their doctor on a video screen. Who would have thought we would actually be doing that in 2020? He made this movie in 2019, expecting that maybe 40 years from now, that's the way, and he made it as a satire, and it turned out to be true. So those two films are being screened side by side, just as an example of films that are timely and timeless.
I will definitely see that one as well. That sounds great. Do you ever have celebrities?
We do. We've had, well, William Shatner was probably our biggest celebrity. He was part of FreedomFest and also Anthem. And what a delightful man he was. But was at our conference, and fun and funny, and gave a great presentation. And then he took questions from the audience, and then my husband, who produces Freedom Fest, interviewed him, and they actually got into an arm wrestling contest. And Mr. Shatner won. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, but at the very end, my husband asked him, "What's the most important thing you've learned?" And he thought for just a moment, and then he said, "Love. It's all about love." And it was just such a great response, I thought, to after having such a career as his, that it all comes down to family. We had Kevin Costner in 2019. Oh, not Kevin Costner, I'm sorry, Kevin Sorbo. Kevin Sorbo in 2019, and he brought his film that he and his wife had made, and Sam Sorbo, and we actually had his film alongside Night. He didn't direct that one, but he was in that one back in 2014. And so that was a fun film set during the oil wildcatting days of Texas back at the turn of the century, and kind of a con artist film of some flim flam men that go honest. And so it was a great little film, and he was just so charming. He attended our events. He spoke at our opening session. He spoke at our filmmakers reception. He attended many of our sessions, and just really became part of the conference. And I think that's one of the things that sets us apart, is that we have 250 speakers as part of Freedom Fest, in addition to what we do with Anthem. And they love the conference. So they don't just come in, give their speech, and leave. They don't hang out in the green room and then sneak out the back door. They attend the conference, and you can meet them and you can talk to them. And our filmmakers reception has really turned into something remarkable, because we have such dynamic, intelligent, and experienced filmmakers who sit on our panels. So that's always been a big plus to our festival.
Isn't that great? I think all of Hollywood needs to go to your festival.
Yeah, and remember that we all put our pants on one leg at a time, right? We all started somewhere, and we're all probably going to end up back there too. So let's share a little bit along the way.
Isn't that great? I love this movie. Reagan looks really good. Dennis Quaid?
Dennis Quaid playing Reagan. Can you think of anyone with a better smile to play Reagan? I mean, he just looks like him. And this film has been a long time in the making. Mark Joseph, who's producing it, came to our festival in 2017 with No Safe Spaces. And he showed it as a sneak peek work in progress. got a lot of feedback from our packed audience. He and I sat for quite a while afterwards and talked about what worked, what could maybe work better. And then he came back the following year, and so it was 2018 that he came, because he won in 2019. 2019, he won the grand prize with it. And during both of those times, you know, he was working to get the funding to put Reagan together. He had Dennis Quaid signed. He had the script in place. He had John Voight to play a KGB agent, and
Love
Leslie
John
Ann
Voight.
Down.
Yeah,
Leslie Ann Down is a really interesting character, because actress rather, and she plays Margaret Thatcher. And what's so great about her is that she lived in England and was a young woman when Thatcher was elected, and hated her, just hated her, because she was such a conservative. But over the years, she began to really respect her and to respect all the changes that came to England. And now she's a staunch conservative. And so, so I'm hoping to have her come next year and talk to us about her journey, because here's what happened. They finally got the funding. They were all set to start filming, and then they got delayed by COVID. So the movie's not ready. We're going to have a long trailer to share, and then we're hoping to have the film next year in 2022, because it isn't quite finished. They've had delays in the filming because of COVID. So we'll have a presentation about Reagan, but not the whole movie.
okay, well, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
I would love to see even the preview, because who knows, that could get bought, you know, that could get bought.
Oh
for
yeah, no,
Hollywood.
yeah, they're not going to have problems with distribution. It's
Yeah.
just that all the delays in the production because of the COVID shutdowns, and so it's not quite finished, but almost. It's very close to being finished. They have a very long trailer that's prepared that they can show. It just isn't, you know, it isn't done.
Right.
In fact, they're still filming some parts of it.
Can you tell me more about the libertarian theme for the films?
Sure. So our motto, our tagline is individuality, accountability, choice, because we think that really matters. People need to act as individuals and not as a collective, and that each of us is accountable for our own actions. And because of that, we make choices, but we can't just pick up one end of the stick. Whatever choice you make has a consequence that goes with it. And so you have to own up to those consequences. And we can choose our actions, and we can choose our consequences based on our actions. So so that's what I look for when I'm selecting films. I want films that have strong characters who make their own way, who move their own obstacles, who make the world a better place by making their own world a better place, and who take credit where credit's due, but also give credit to others when it's due. So I like really strong characters who get things done. And a lot of our films are anti-government, because government gets so much in the way. On Saturday, we have 4 hours of films about business regulation and problems that people have had with COVID lockdowns, but also with corporate welfare, where big corporations get advantages while small businesses get the shaft. We certainly saw that during COVID too. Look at the gigantic businesses that could stay open: Amazon, Costco, Target, and the small businesses that weren't allowed to stay open because they were non-essential.
Yeah.
So we have 4 hours of films, from an hour down to maybe 6 minutes, and really short ones too, that just tell the story succinctly. You don't need 90 minutes to tell a story. Working Family tells a wonderful story in 8 minutes about a fishing family and what they have to go through in California to comply with fishing laws that actually are moving fishermen down to Mexico, where there are no environmental protection laws. And because the laws have become so onerous in California, there's no restriction down in Mexico. Whereas if they found a balance, the wildlife would be protected, people could eat fish, and these fishing families could stay in business. So those kinds of stories I think are really important, and they don't have to be long.
That sounds great. I would love to. I love short films, and are they all together, the short, so you can just go in and then?
It depends. I've curated it by session and by theme. So every session is about 2 hours long. Some of them are full-length features. So for example, Mighty Ira, which is about Ira Glasser, who was CEO of the ACLU for many years and really promoted defending free speech, defending all speech, whether he agreed with it or not. And what was really interesting is his most controversial case was when he defended the neo-Nazis in their right to protest in Skokie, Illinois, even though he's Jewish. So here was a Jewish attorney defending the right of neo-Nazis to exercise their free speech. And then how it turns out is just a wonderful story of how the market works as well. So it's a great story. And it's an hour and 35 minutes. So by the time we do the Q&A, that's one movie for the session. But then others, my festival of shorts, I think I have 4 or 5 films plus the panel. So that ends up being 4 films in 2 hours.
Excellent. What is the name of that movie? The
Mighty Ira.
Mighty Ira?
Mighty Ira, and it's on Thursday at 3:00 with, and afterwards, the director, Aaron Reese, and Michael Shermer, who's part of Skeptic Magazine and kind of a superstar at Freedom Fest. He'll be on the panel with him to talk about in defense of defending all speech. It's such an important right that we are losing this year. The whole idea of hate speech is not constitutional. Any speech should not be outlawed. And so there should be no such thing as hate speech. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I beat you up and you get beaten up and I break your jaw and I break your arm and does it matter to you whether I hated you or not? No, it doesn't change how much you've been hurt. It's a crime regardless of whether I hate you or not. And so hate crimes it shouldn't matter what I think and what I say, because those are inalienable rights. How it affects you, there is a consequence to that. Consequence to actions, but not consequences to thought or speech in terms of making it illegal, banned. Yes, there are consequences to what you say. You can't pick up one end of the stick, but it shouldn't be illegal to say it.
Agreed. This whole social media thing, regular media thing, it's all just out of control. The more movies, the better.
Well, I have 2 other films that kind of follow in what you just said. I have one on cancel culture and outrage media on Friday morning at 8:30. Yes, we have movies starting at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, good.
And that's Rush to Judgment. And Rush to Judgment the tagline is Encounter at the Lincoln Memorial. And it's about Nick Sandman, the young man who was confronted by the Native American drummer, for want of a better, his name was Nathan Phillips. And what really happened, because all we saw that weekend was a tiny little clip, maybe 10 seconds. And when you pull it back and you see what actually happened during that hour, you realize that Nick Sandman was ambushed simply because he was wearing a MAGA hat.
He really was. And that guy turned out to be a con artist as well. And
he wasn't even a Vietnam vet.
Pardon me?
He wasn't even a Vietnam vet. He had never been to Vietnam. But he got all the play, and he was the sympathetic character in the news. But Nick, when you see that movie and you see what really happened, you can't help but just admire this young man for his calmness, his patience, his fortitude. It's a remarkable film. And then afterwards, we have a panel on cancel culture and outrage media with Sean Malone, Rob Montz, and the director of the film. That's going to be a great panel, as well as a great movie. Excellent. And then the final film that goes along with what you had said is Better Left Unsaid, which addresses CRT and DEI, critical race theory, and diversity, equality, and inclusion, which all sound like really nice things to do. And certainly we want to have diversity, and we want to treat everyone as equals, and we want to be inclusive. But when you have the capital letters, suddenly we realize that it's founded in Marxism. And so we have a great film about that, followed by a panel of educational academic experts talking about CRT, DEI, and what they really are, what their foundations are. So that's going to be a great way to close the festival on Saturday.
Excellent. We're watching the repercussions of that every day on at least at least it's coming out on some of the news, so that's good.
Yes, yes,
Um,
and we're finding some of the quotations that were being written in academic scholarship even 20 years ago, where they admit, I mean, they don't just and admit, they just state that it is founded in Marxism, and we need to be careful of that.
Agreed, agreed. Well, wow, I hope that you get a lot of media attention. Fox News, they would probably be very interested.
It would be great if they could cover us, especially this year. I mean, we just have such wonderful films, and we're in this wonderful theater. It's going to be so beautiful. And I
Yes.
don't know what to expect. You know, this is the first time that we've been in a separate location from Freedom Fest. Always I've been in a conference room just down the hall from everybody else. So you can come out of one breakout session and you've got 10 minutes to get to another one, and there's the festival. It's just right there. This time we're 3 blocks away. So people have to say, I'm going to go see movies and it's going to take me 12 minutes to walk there. I need to take the shuttle. And I want to stay put. And that's why I curated them in these 2-hour sessions. I want people to look at their schedules and say, this 2 hours, I'm going to be at the theater watching movies, rather than in the past, I would have a 10-minute movie during the coffee break. They could grab a cup of coffee, come into the theater, watch a 10-minute film, do Q&A with the director, and then go right back to the next breakout session. It's gonna be harder to do when we're 3 blocks away. So I'm hoping that they'll come and enjoy it so much that they'll just say, I'll buy the tapes. I'll listen to the speakers on my earpods, and I'm just going to stay and watch movies. So that's my hope. And my husband, of course, runs Freedom Fest. So he says, why would anyone go to movies when they can hear speakers live? So we're sort of like the Mary Madeline and James Carville of the freedom movement, in that we compete for audience.
That's funny. That's great. Well, I may just buy the tapes also and spend some time at the film festival.
Well, yeah, you're a filmmaker. You need to do that. And then come to
I
our
do.
filmmakers reception and masterclass on Thursday night.
Yeah.
It is a separate ticket, but gosh, we are just going to have such a great masterclass. We have live entertainment, and then we have the launch of a brand new freedom-oriented content channel. We'll be launching at our reception. Then we have a panel on creating authenticity in an age of distrust. So we'll be giving some advice to filmmakers on how to create a trust environment with their subjects, if they're documentarians, and with their audience, if they're creating narrative features or narrative shorts. And then afterwards, we have the Harmon Brothers coming, and they're going to be offering very concrete, not just advice, but support to our filmmakers. So it's going to be a dynamite festival, filmmakers reception and masterclass this year.
Now, who are the Harmon Brothers?
They do a lot of content and social media and promotion, and I have a meeting with them later on today to find out exactly what we're going to be doing. But they're a recent addition. We just secured them in the last couple of weeks. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It's just going to be a great surprise, and they're going to be offering. They want to help nurture and support libertarian content. So I'm very excited about that. One of the things that I want to do, and I'm going to be talking to them about this, is to create a space where actors, directors, editors, cinematographers, gaffers can go to work on libertarian projects, where they can go to and say, I want an actor who's on board with the content that I'm making. And that's been kind of a hard thing. In fact, I've noticed that some of the directors, I get to know the directors pretty well over the years, and a lot of times I see their names scrolling, and it's kind of fun when I see the name of a director of a short narrative, and now I see them working on a documentary with somebody else, and I think it's working. They're starting to collaborate. They're starting to work together on their different projects. But I also see filmmakers who don't want to use their real names when they're working on a project that's overtly libertarian, because they don't want to be blackballed in Hollywood. And that's really a shame that happens. So if I can just kind of be a meeting place for people in the filmmaking world who are looking for jobs and looking for people to hire. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking to them about, to see if we can put together that kind of a meetup, a virtual meetup for people in the industry.
That's great. I have written a couple of screenplays and pitched them to Hollywood over the years. And at this point, there's no way, based on my more recent work of my creative conservative work, there's no way those would ever be accepted.
Yeah, you'll have to change your name. Although you do have the advantage of being female. A lot of my filmmakers are saying now that it's, especially in the last 2 years, it's really hard to get into festivals because they have to say that they're white males, and that's like the kiss of death for festivals right now. So this is the age of the woman. You should be able to get your movies made.
Well, someday.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic. I can't wait to meet you in person and to go to the festival and see the movies and the panels.
Find me at the theater from 8:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night.
Oh man, I don't know if I have that in me, but I will try.
Yeah, well, we do have a break from 5 to 9, but I've been really excited about how about the panels in particular. As I've been putting them together, each time I was thinking, now who should moderate this panel? And I'll do that one. And who should moderate? I'll do that one too, because I really love the topics that we have. So looking forward to meeting my directors, meeting my audience, and showing these great movies in a theater with popcorn.
Oh, isn't that is great. I liked what you said about the chairs. I like a good chair.
Yeah. It's a beautiful theater. You're gonna be really impressed. So
great.
Well, and then Saturday night is our awards banquet. We have it's huge. We have entertainment with Brûlée, which is a Native American musical production, which is just outstanding. And then we have a comedy by Dave Smith, and I'll do the awards, and then we have dancing till midnight by with the Dancing Divas, a dance band. So lots going on at that awards banquet this year.
Wow. Okay. I will try and make that awards banquet. I did schedule my flight for Monday. So
well, there you go. And then you can go see Mount Rushmore on Sunday.
Yes, that I wanted to really focus on the festival. So yes, that's why I extended my flight till Monday. But yes.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you, JC. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.